Hello, my name is Gabe. Welcome to the show. This is a Game of Thrones comedy recap. To explain, I've never seen Game of Thrones before. There are reasons the show never really appealed to me, and that's still true. So I'm not going to take it seriously, hence the comedy part. But I'm going to watch through it for the first time and share some jokes and quips and whatever I come up with you. That's pretty much it, yeah. Now, before I begin, I need to thank someone for the idea. Little Karibo on YouTube did a series where he watched through Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, and that's where the inspiration for this series kind of comes from. Without further ado, though, let's begin. We start off with a group of people roaming through the woods, apparently looking to see something, though one of them is really afraid and wants to run away, but he's told he'd be executed. Oh, fair enough. Then he finds a bunch of dead bodies, children and stuff. Apparently these are people called the Wildlings. Well, he goes back and tells them that he found it. Then they won't go to investigate how they were killed. But of course, and he should have expected this, if playing video games has taught me anything, if you leave a dead body alone for too long, it despawns.
Your dead men seem to have moved camp.
Which is obviously what happened here, nothing else. Oh, wait, no. The dead came back to life and are trying to kill him. Oh. Yeah, that can also happen. Now, let's just ignore that old zombie thing. We can just push it aside. Focus on the Starks. Creators of metal armor. Oh, nope. I was thinking of something else. No, these Starks are Ned Stark, his wife, his children, and they're teaching their youngest son archery. Now, Ned Stark chides his children for saying that because he's 10, he shouldn't be good with a bow.
And which one of you was a marksman at 10?
But you know what? They've got a point. As someone without any depth perception, and who's never fired a weapon in his life, I say, yeah, no, he should be able to hit anything immediately from 1,000,000 feet away. Without any practice. Eventually they go into the woods, where they find dead animal and a dead wolf, a dire wolf. Shouldn't be there. Apparently they're not native to the place where they are, but they're there, and the dire wolf happens to have 5 puppies.
You want to hold it?
And there are 5 Stark children and 1 not Stark child. We'll talk about him later. And so the 5 Stark children get puppies, after being told that if they feed them and water them and take care of them, they can keep them. Then a 6th one shows up.
Run to the litter.
And Snow, the not Stark child I said we'll talk about later, gets a puppy too. So everyone gets puppies. After that, we soon get word, or I should say Ned Stark soon gets word, that Jon Arryn, apparently a father figure to him, was killed. And I guess because of that, the king is coming to visit Ned. Speaking of the king, we go to King's Landing, where the king lives, who would have guessed, where we find not just the king, but also his wife and his wife's brothers, the Lannisters. There's his wife. Then there's Jaime Lannister, who talks about how he should have the job that Jon Arryn had. Not suspicious at all, I assure you. And then we get the best Lannister, whose name I can't remember. Oops. But he's the short one, and apparently he drinks a lot. In fact, there's one unresolved plot thread in this episode that I hope gets resolved at some point in this series.
How much could he possibly drink? A man of his stature.
We brought up 8 barrels of ale from the cellar. Perhaps we'll find out.
Anyways, they're going to the place where the Starks are, because they are. After some traveling, they arrive, The king meets with Ned. They call each other fat.
You got fat.
And we move on. And it turns out that, I guess at some point, the king was supposed to get with Ned's sister, but she died. And we're going to move on from that because I can't think of good jokes when it comes to death. Sorry. We do, however, find the short one in a whorehouse having sex with a woman. Yeah, it turns out there's quite a bit of sex in this show that I'm mostly going to be skipping over because I can't think of good jokes for that either. But in this case, I'm going to make an exception. Anyways, his brother comes in. Jaime Lannister, by the way, is his name. I don't know if I mentioned that. And to make sure he gets to the banquet in time, he just lets all of the women he was going to have sex in at once. So, after that, a little bit later, we find out what's special about the non-Stark child, Jon Snow. Turns out that his father is the same as the Stark children, but his mother is not.
Making you the bastard.
That's all we really know, but because of it, he feels, I guess, alienated from his family. Doesn't help that they literally kicked him out of the banquet because of it.
Find you at the feast?
Lady Stark thought it might insult the royal family to seat a bastard in their midst.
Therefore making the alienation justified. Anyways, he's thinking of going to some place called the Wall. That apparently his uncle came from or something. Anyways, inside the aforementioned banquet, the youngest daughter of the Starks tries to start a food fight. It doesn't take, which is a shame, because I like food fights. Yeah, that's it. So it turns out the reason the king came was to offer Jon Arryn's job, which is Hand of the King, and they don't really explain what Hand of the King does, but it looks like it's a powerful position. He was offering the job to Ned. Ned is hesitant at first, until he learned from a letter from his wife's sister that it was the Lannisters that killed the Hand of the King, not disease. So he takes the job. A little bit later, the 10-year-old son with the bow and arrow, whose name is Bram, by the way, forgot to mention that, who was told earlier not to climb things, proceeds to climb things. And he climbs a tower to find Jaime and the king's wife, who I remind you is his sister, having sex. I guess they don't want that information getting out, so they push him off the tower. And that's where the episode ends. But there's actually a whole other thing that happens in the episode that I just haven't mentioned yet. Well, all that's going on apparently. We find out about Daenerys and her brother. Her brother wants to be king. Apparently her brother's father was king. Her brother wants to be king. To become king, he forcibly gives his sister to a tribe of, I guess, savages, so that he'll give him his army to become king. His sister doesn't want to do this, but of course she has no choice. Beginning to think that Daenerys' brother is not the greatest guy. Oh, also, Daenerys is immune to hot temperatures, but I'm sure that's not going to come to play at all. That's about the gist of what happens in the episode. Note, obviously I couldn't say everything that happened, every little scene, because, well, then the video would be too long. And since I'm watching this blind, I had to make my own judgment calls as to what I would and wouldn't mention. It's possible that the things I decided to skim over are super plot important, in which case, oops. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did like it, do leave a like. And if you want to see more like it, do subscribe. Share this video if you want to. And most importantly, and this is the most important thing, have a good night.